Hi, everybody. My name is Kentia, and welcome to Advance's Amplify virtual interview series. Advance acknowledges that we in Toronto, where the organization was founded, are on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. Myself and Kessie are located in Vancouver, British Columbia, which is located on unceded ancestral territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nation. Advanced was formed to develop an infrastructure for the betterment, uplifted, and the retention of Black people in the Canadian music business. The Amplify series highlighted exceptional Black professionals in the Canadian music industry and shares their stories and many experiences. Our goal is for you to leave with a greater appreciation for our guests because each individual has made a significant difference. And I'm very lucky to introduce you guys to Kessie.
Hi.
Hi,
Thank
Kessie.
you for having me. I'm so excited to talk with you, and I hope I get to know you a little bit. And I'm excited to be part of this.
Yeah, and have this conversation between each other.
Yeah,
I think I'm very lucky because I would not be here if it wasn't for Kessie. One of the first things you said was, I've never seen anyone that looks like me in the industry. So I thought that was very awesome, and I felt the exact same way.
Yeah, especially over here on the West Coast, and like this connection that we've made is kind of new, but I'm really happy to know you, and I already feel like we are going to do loads of work together over the next little bit here. So yeah, this couldn't be a better pairing.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's best if you tell everyone what you do in this industry and let everyone know how long you've been in the industry because it's been a long time.
Forever. It feels like forever. So I am the general manager at 604 Records in Vancouver, BC. I also do human resources there. And I have been working for the company. I think this is my 17th year there, which is crazy. I don't even know how that happened, but here we are. Yeah, so that's the bones.
Right. What is one of your biggest inspirations for getting into the music business?
Well, like I was basically a child when I went into it, but it was just a love of music. I am and have always been really passionate about music. I was raised listening to vinyl records in my parents' living room, and then I grew up in the suburbs, and music was kind of my escape and getaway from that sort of lifestyle. And
Yeah, of course.
it kind of opened me up to bigger worlds when I felt like high school was getting too small, and it just sort of snowballed into something bigger each step I took. It started with being in love with music, and then being in love with live shows, and then realizing that there's this whole business behind it and there are jobs behind it that are accessible, because I'm not a singer, I can't sing. So it was like I had there's sort of two entry points. You're either a musician or you're a business person, and so that's the route I took, and it's really been an incredible experience for me.
Yeah, that's amazing. I always hear amazing things about you. So again, when we got to connect, I was like, I feel so lucky to finally know who this person is, and yeah, it's just been awesome to know who you are and kind of get to know you one-on-one. Do you have any mentors in this industry?
I do. I don't think I could have gotten through it without a few mentors. I've been lucky to have, from the beginning, I've always sort of worked with like powerful women, or women that I saw as powerful, or people who were making steps before I was, and I would always sort of seek some guidance from them. I wouldn't say that there was like a specific person that mentored me through it. Certainly my boss has kind of held my hand through different things. Like I've had multiple jobs within this company, and I started as an intern. So I've definitely like learned the ranks through those experiences. But there are a few people in different places that have sort of helped me in areas. So for example, when I started, there were a couple of women who were in the company and in the industry before me that would teach me about like how to sort of approach this business as a woman. And especially in that time when I started 17 years ago, it was a very different industry. It was very male dominated, and could be uncomfortable at times. So I learned a lot through them. And then just even through the musicians that I work with, they would sort of teach me about navigating certain things like tours and promoters and that kind of
Right.
thing. Yeah.
Do you feel more safe now in the industry than you did before?
Yes, I definitely feel more safe now, but I don't know if that's, I think a certain amount of it is because the industry has grown and changed and the world has
Right.
grown and changed. I also think a portion of it is because I have this amount of experience and sort of
Mhm.
like I'm in a position of power now where I can make decisions and I think that I think that gives me a bit of protection that I hope people who are new and inexperienced coming into the industry have an easier path
Yeah,
to
sure.
them, but I don't know if their experiences are harassment free. I doubt it.
Yeah. I think it's good that we're all having the conversation now and making sure that we do have a safe place for youth, for females, for people of color, for Black artists and etc. So I think it's good that the conversation is happening and that there has been some change, which is really nice.
Yeah, it's sort of a like rapid conversation now. There's been a growth and a change over the years. There was many years of growth and change and more women coming in and
Mhm.
more people of color. But this last year has definitely like sped things up and really put a focus on it, which is great.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
Yeah.
Have you always wanted to be in the music industry? Was there
Yeah.
anything else that Kessie ever wanted to do or be?
Yes, I've always wanted to be in the music industry. As soon as I realized that there was like a profession here that you could get, a salary for,
Right.
I knew that this is what I wanted to do.
Mhm.
Although I didn't know how or what place in the industry I would have, because once I started interning and realizing like there's so many different streams of work,
Mhm.
you know, I guess from the outside it looked to me like you were either a manager or a promoter,
Mhm.
um, or maybe a label exec, but I didn't know that you could be like a publicist or a project manager, or you could be in digital media, or there was just all these jobs and areas and of the industry. I wasn't sure what approach I would take, so I spent a few years trying to figure out what I liked about it and
Mhm.
where I was comfortable. But yeah, I knew that I wasn't gonna have like a normal 9 to 5 job.
No.
Um, and I knew that I wanted to do something that I'm passionate about and that I feel like excited about and that is
Mhm.
like, fulfilling and I'm not just working to get paid at the end of the day.
Yeah, of course. Do you have a big like aha moment that happened in these 17 years where you're like, I love my job, I'm killing it. This is why I started all of this. But like, what was one or two of those big moments that you've had?
It's definitely been a roller coaster. I think this whole industry can be very challenging because it's like there's major highs and major lows, and
Mhm.
there's a lot of lows. You really have to be persistent, I think, to keep finding that next kind of high and
Right.
aha moment. But from the length of time, I've definitely had a this is why I'm doing it,
Mhm.
There's definitely been a few. And also sometimes it's like insignificant to other people. There's
Mhm.
like big moments for sure. I'm Carly Rae Jepsen's project manager in Canada, and I have been from the beginning. And so we experienced Call Me Maybe together. And that was obviously like a very big high. We traveled the world and we did all the things. And that was like, okay, well, this is why I'm here. This is the ultimate. And then there were just more insignificant moments that I think maybe don't matter to other people, but they matter to me, like just
Right.
traveling to certain places or
Mhm.
getting a meeting opportunity with someone that I found interesting, or getting to try a new level of my job, getting to learn a
Right.
new thing, or getting growth and development within my job is always really exciting because I don't think I could have stayed here for so long if I did the same job every year, without really having a way to experience new things. And that's
Mhm.
definitely one thing that's kept me here for so long. So I'd go from being a project manager to a senior project manager, and then eventually into general management. And that moment of like change and new responsibilities has always been like, oh, this feels so good right now, you know?
Lovely.
Yeah, but then there are lows too all the time. I expect there'll be more. It's
Yeah.
just going to navigate through those times.
Yeah. How many different job titles have you had with 604? If you started as an intern and now you're the general manager, like what was in between?
Well, the company has also changed a lot in between. So we
Mhm.
created structure in those years too. When I started, I was an intern, and there were maybe only 4 people on staff at that time. Now there's 28, I think. So we've grown. So I think there were a certain amount of years where we didn't even really have job titles. It was like, let's just get the work done. Like we
Mhm.
just have to figure this out. And so we all did everything. There were many years like that, and then eventually, when we had enough artists, we started to sort of create rosters and from project managers, and so that would be, I think, my first official real title, and I was a project manager for quite a while. And then maybe after 4 or 5 years, I became sort of a senior project manager. That happened also with Carly's explosion
Mhm.
into what she is now, um, because I led a lot of that as her
Mhm.
manager. And then after the senior project management, that just continued for quite a while, and I just took on more artists and more responsibilities, and then I was finding myself kind of managing the newer people coming in and
Mhm.
strategy for the company, and that's what led to the general management role.
That's amazing. Do you have any secret rituals for creativity or just with running the business in general? Like,
Rituals. Hmm. No, I mean, maybe a few. I've definitely learned to create space for myself,
okay, that's
um,
good.
because the industry, at least for me, I because I'm so passionate about it, and because I take it so personally, I can easily get swallowed up in it. Like I was
Right.
finding for many years, I was working all the time. Like I'd wake up in the middle of the night and work, and or I'd be thinking about it or dreaming about it. And everybody I knew is in the industry, which is lovely. Like we've definitely created a bit of a family, but I
Mhm.
but I needed to create some space too to have balance. And I know that that I need to some portion of my time in the evenings or on the weekends or whenever, not doing music and figuring out what I like and just like calming my brain. I'm a Virgo. I need time, and
Yeah.
so I have created some ways to do that. And then I find when I come back from that space, I am entering conversations with a much clearer brain. And like
Right.
I also find like the strategy of what I need to do. Like if we have a release coming out and I'm struggling, sometimes getting that space and like coming away from my computer, going for a hike or whatever
Mhm.
I need to do, well, that strategy will just kind of like appear,
Yeah.
and then I can come back to it with a clear mind.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's very smart for our mental health as well to like take the space and the time you need and exactly like getting fresh air and then taking the weekend off. Like sometimes I'm like, I don't want my phone to be a priority this weekend because I
That
already
was
feel all
really That's a really important piece, taking the weekend off when you can. Like definitely the music industry doesn't stop on the weekend. So,
never.
we sometimes have things to do. But I think that change really came when I had kids and I realized, wow, like I have a whole world, like I have a whole life outside of this that
Yeah.
I'm not aware of, and
Yeah.
um, now I have to take weekends. I really do. And I try to spend that time hiking or whatever. And then I find that even if there is a project to do on the weekends or whatever, then it's like I'm okay with it because
Mhm.
in the grand balance of things, I've created enough space that I can approach everything with
Different.
some calm. Yeah.
Yeah, and you have a different responsibility, I'm sure, when you have kids and they become your priority. And so you're just like, you have to learn how to balance things. And I think that's probably something a lot of artists even have to learn how to do is like balance a lot of things too, right?
Yeah, it's so hard, especially when you're an artist and the brand and the product is you. Creating that space is very challenging, but
Yeah.
very, very necessary.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm going to shift the conversation a bit and start to ask you, what does Black music look like to you? Again, you've been in this industry for a long time, so you've seen a lot of things happen and you've also seen a lot of change, which is good. And as we said in the last year, a lot of things have changed and a lot of people are wanting to support more Black people and artists and things like that. But what does Black music mean to you in general?
Hmm. Well, I'm really glad that there's been so much change this year, and I'm excited about what's coming because I think it's going to be very different than the last 15 years, or
Yeah.
more. To me, Black music is all music. It's
Mhm.
it's music that's created by Black people. It's owned by Black people. It's whatever art a Black person creates and wants to put out into the world, and that can
Yeah.
be any genre of music. There's some like weird twinge I get when people assume that Black music means soul and R&B and rap and hip hop, because it is those genres, but it's also pop and rock and jazz and
Is
folk and singer songwriter, and it can
everything.
be anything.
Yeah.
It can be anything. I think it just the difference is that it's created and owned by a Black person or a Black creator.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I think I've run into many conversations recently because the company that I work for, 604 Records, is really known for rock music, pop
Mhm.
music, country
Mhm.
music, not genres typically associated with Black music.
Mhm.
Um, but we know and have worked with many Black artists that are trying to be a part of whatever genre they want to be a part of. And so I've had
Mhm.
these conversations recently with Black musicians who are trying to do or are creating pop music or rock music, and
Mhm.
are asking how it is that they can put this music out into the world that they're naturally creating without it being pigeonholed into R&B because they're
Right.
Black.
Right.
Um, so I'm really trying to sort of support that idea of like we can make whatever music we want and it just belongs
Mhm.
in whatever genre it is. And um, so yes, so I think Black music is just whatever Black people want to create.
Yeah, I agree. Do you feel like the industry, you can choose within BC or Canada, do you think they've made any steps forward after pledging um, and supporting the industry blackout? You know, everyone posting the black square on Instagram and stuff like that. Do you feel like industries have changed because of that, or do you think they just posted and supported in just by posting?
I think we still need to see. I think that was a big moment, and it was nice to see and feel like maybe there's a big change happening.
Mhm.
I was feeling a little skeptical at that time, like, is this going to hold? And I think there has been a certain amount of change. I can see it. I can see, our Black colleagues being hired and promoted and changing positions and working for notable companies across Canada, big
Mhm.
companies that need more representation. And I think they know that and they're making the appropriate changes. And
Mhm.
I can definitely see that. So now what we need to see is that those Black people are being supported, and it's
Mhm.
not just going to be this year. It's like, are
Mhm.
those Black people getting developed? Are they getting opportunities? Are they getting
Right.
raises? Are they
Right.
at the table? Are they making decisions? Do they
Mhm.
have growth patterns? Like what happens next, and how do we
Mhm.
keep them in the industry and in those jobs and getting into positions of power? So I think that part we still need to see.
Yeah.
Um, and it's a lot more than just the hiring part. So I'm still hoping to see those further changes. But definitely, there's been some moves, and
Yeah.
people are trying. And there's been a lot of conversation behind the scenes. Like I've had quite a few people call me and include me, and people that were not there before. So I think there is a whole system of trying right now, and that's what we want to see. Right?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like I'm in the same boat as you too. I feel like people are reaching out to me, but
Mhm.
I kind of have to pick and choose at this point because, like, I can notice when it's tokenism, right?
Yeah.
Notice like when
And
some,
how do you decide? How do you choose what's important?
Yeah, I noticed I had a conversation with somebody and they thought they knew all this information about me, but it was false. And I was like, I don't do any of that, by the way. I'm not too sure if you like learned about me or what it is, but I feel like you only want to hire me because you wrote that in your grant, right? So sometimes like again, I have to pick and choose what I do. And with my position now at my job, like it was a resume that got me hired too, right? Like it wasn't because of the color of my skin, it was because of what I can do. So like that's where I'm like, of course I want to work for a company like that. Like thank you for looking at my numbers and like what my resume says instead of like being like we need to hire you because we need diversity in our company. And like
Yeah.
just want
And
to.
I think you can pick up on that in the early conversations. Like there is definitely a need for diversity. So I am aware that when people are reaching out to me that are lacking in that area, that is something they're trying to do, or at least it's a portion of what they're trying to do.
Right.
Ultimately, I would expect that they're reaching out to me specifically because of my
Mhm.
knowledge, abilities, skills, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's a balance, and I think we have always been here making smart decisions. So it's
Yeah.
up to them to catch up.
Yeah, for sure. No, I totally agree. Has your business like pivoted during the pandemic and quarantine life? Like, what's
Yeah,
that been? You got to be home more, which is amazing.
yeah, we are in my dining room. Yeah, there's been a lot of pivoting, and it's been a challenge. Some parts were easier than others. Like, and so in
Mhm.
our at our business and our office space, we were really. It was almost like we sort of prepared without. Obviously, we didn't know that the pandemic was coming, but we were well prepared because we have a space that has a soundstage in it and a recording studio. So we
Mhm.
were never really shut down from anything. We
Right.
can always create in our own space and create our own sort of policies to keep our people safe and keep them working and being creative. So I'm
Mhm.
really thankful for that.
Yeah.
Um, but we did definitely have to, we had to send our staff home, and they are working remotely, and they have been for the last year, and they're doing amazing. And our clients, they lost what is most important to them, which is touring. So we've just been, again, using those spaces to keep them really busy and thinking about what we can do in the future and keeping content coming out and embracing that side of their creativity. And, a lot of day-to-day tasks that we've had to pivot on, but we meet every single week. The management team meets, and then I meet with the staff, and we have like staff meetings every week and discuss what's happening and how we can face it and how we can be creative, and that's been really like helpful.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What steps have you taken through your career that have helped you evolve your business?
Well, I love to be a student, so I am constantly going back to school on the side. I came into this industry basically as a teenager, and
Mm,
so I came into it needing some more education,
right.
paperwork, and so I went back to school and did some marketing. I recently went back and did some human resources courses. Travel and meet people, and attend industry showcases,
Yeah.
um, and like get together with people like you and find out what you're doing in the industry, and sort of take tips from people and just expand my network. And all of that has kept me learning and growing, and being able to sort of pivot again and re-strategize how I do things in the industry and how I grow and get
Mhm.
into new positions. And yeah, that's all been really important to me.
Yeah. I I totally agree. I think when somebody goes back to school just to learn more about what they're doing is like really good for you because you're just like picking up on like things that are like not by the book, but like you're just like learning it properly at the same time. And you've already been in the industry, so you already know the flow of that. So you already have it very hands on. But like to go back to school and like learn education wise and in the books is always like just a really good thing. Just it just makes you
100%.
smarter.
This business is very like street level. Like you have to learn as you go. I
Yeah.
don't think there's any sort of there's lots of programs out there that will help, but there's not really a specific diploma program that's going to teach you how to market today. The world just changes so quickly, and the industry changes so quickly, art changes so quickly, and all the, everything is updated all the time. So
100%.
I'm always learning, but it is nice to go back to school and have the groundwork to know, just the bones of everything. And it just keeps my brain fresh. And it's one of those ways, like going back to our earlier conversation, where I can kind of create space for myself too and figure out just how to, focus my own mind. That's been a big part of getting more education.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree. Like even myself, I went to like audio engineering and music production, learning how to use a studio, but like I don't even do any of that stuff. Yes, I'm an artist, but like I just learned how to talk the talk in a room, so if I'm ever in that type of situation, like I know what I need. But I think networking is a very, very big thing in this music industry. So when some people used to come to me and be like really shy, I'm like, you're going to need to know how to like branch out, and you're going to need to learn how to shake hands with people and do stuff that makes you uncomfortable, because then one day it's going to make you comfortable, right? So
100%. Yeah. Every time I meet a new person that, has had a different experience than me, I feel like I'm learning from them. It's like a constant mentor relationship. And I'm not done learning and, figuring out new ways to maneuver through this relationship and this like industry. And it's really important.
Yeah. What is one of the biggest challenges that you've faced in the industry?
There's been a few.
Okay.
I think being a woman has been a little challenging. I feel really lucky to work where I work, and I'm not just saying that because they're my current employer, but 604, like Jonathan Simkin has been really, he's I don't think many people know that he's really a big family man, and he's been very encouraging and supportive when it comes to my own personal like family goals. But there were times early in the industry where I was unsure about how to maneuver being a woman and being like an executive or having a powerful position, because there were comments made to me when I was first starting out that I couldn't make it and be successful in the industry and also have children. I was told that that wasn't an option. You have to choose one or the other. And I just didn't believe that. And then I started to see women. There is a woman in my company who has been there a little longer than me, and she sort of did everything first, and she had kids and had her mat leave and came back, and if she could do it, I can do it. So that part I sort of experienced just by doing it, but I had support from my boss. And it's been challenging, especially in a pandemic year, to figure out how to be a mom and a businesswoman and manage both things. So that's been a little bit challenging. There were other aspects too, just in terms of like in the early days of the industry, navigating being a woman and feeling respected around the table, and being a Black woman at that in a very white industry, especially in the like rock and pop world where I was sort of focused. Being in some of those spaces felt uncomfortable, and I had to figure out how to navigate that. And I don't think that that's an experience that all of my like male counterparts had to figure out.
Yeah, no, I mean, kudos to you. You did it and you proved people wrong, and you're still going to do it. And, your kids are going to grow up and have you as an influence. So honestly, like congrats on all of it, on being a mom, on killing it in the industry, and being in those rooms that are mostly white males and sitting at that table.
Yeah, it can be a little intimidating in the beginning, especially like as a young Black woman, because, I came into the industry when I was like 18. I felt very unsure. I didn't know what I was talking about, or at least I didn't think I knew what I was talking about. I was definitely learning. And then I was entering these spaces with people who I wasn't sure respected me. And it was, it was all parts of the industry. I'd walk into radio stations or business meetings, or I'd, fly into LA and be with other producers or whatever, and feeling uncomfortable because I wasn't sure what it was. Is it because I'm Black? Or is it because I'm a woman? Is it because I'm young? I don't know. But figuring all of those things out was important to me growing in the industry, and also to opening doors for other women in the industry, I think.
Yeah.
And again, thankfully I had an employer who didn't care about that stuff and was happy to give me promotions and put me in those rooms, and send me out, and knew that I could handle it. So like I'm lucky there, because I know that some of my counterparts did not have that experience, or have not had that experience. And I think that part is still changing now.
100%. I think people need to start like trusting, young Black females or males, whatever it is, and knowing that their opinions do matter. Like, don't just like brush it off. Like, listen to what they're saying, because a lot of the people that are above don't even understand yet what that person's talking about. It could be about hip hop or R&B. They just don't even understand it, but it's such a big thing. Like, it's so big and it's so popular.
Yeah.
And it's top of the charts, and it feels like sometimes people like ignore that conversation, and you're like, it's literally how people are at the top of the charts. Like, I don't.
But these are the people that are also buying the product, right? Like, these are the people that we need to be listening to, are the young, particularly like Black youth, that are out there buying what we're trying to sell them. So yeah, we should all be listening and learning, but particularly, the sort of like dominating sort of men, older industry that existed then. Hopefully it's changed enough that there are more voices at the table, and people are trusting that now. I hope so. I know that we are in our company, and it's important. So
yeah, I was gonna say the same. It's nice. Like, I work with Music BC. It's nice that these conversations are always happening, and everyone's very open to it. Like, nobody's idea is being like shut down. It's like a very nice, like, open conversation. And I feel like I missed that in my past company, and now I'm like finally sitting there being like, thank you. Like, all I've ever wanted to do is just be heard. Like, if we do it tomorrow, can we do it next month? And it's like, maybe, but like, it's just nice that the conversations are there, and it's nice that people that look like me are getting paid to be on the stage, and like, it's just been like a really good opportunity for me. And again, like, because of my boss, who is also a female, like, executive director, introduces me to you instantly.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Lindsay introduced us, and she was more than happy to, and then now we have this new connection that I think is benefiting both of us, and that's how we should work. We should be supporting each other, all of us. Like, and when I say that, I don't just mean Black women, but I mean like executives. And I am learning over the last year or two also that I need to send the elevator back down and be looking for people that I can mentor and help in, because I think for a long period of time, I kind of felt like, well, nobody really mentored me specifically. Like, you can just forge your own path. But it is more than that. Like, now I'm realizing that I need to, I have, a bit of leeway to help, and at least like offer some guidance where I can. And so I'm really like trying to focus on that this year.
Yeah, you have the power, and you're in a position now where you can help a young Kessie not have to struggle and try to figure out all on their own, and like kind of help like guide somebody.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so.
I sent you an amazing person, so don't worry. What is your opinion on diversity within the industry here in the West Coast? Like, how do you feel about the diversity that you see? And like, again, I will explain to everyone who's gonna see this, but the first time we met, the first thing that Kessie said to me is, wow, I've never seen anyone that looks like me. And it was like, I was just sitting there just being like, oh my God, I've never seen anyone that looks like me. Like, you were kind of like the first Black female I think that I met in British Columbia, like, in general.
Yeah, there are a few of us, but on the business side, like in the, on what we're doing, it's just, I'm not exposed to many, and I wish I was. The West Coast is very different from like Toronto. I'm always a little jealous of Toronto being the center of the industry, but also just having a much larger Black population. So, Vancouver has a big Black population also, but it feels a little more isolated. And it feels like there isn't really a community hub where we can connect with each other. I think that's something that we're trying to create, or we should be creating. And Advance is helping with that, to connect us. And Advance has helped me connect with the rest of the industry. This is all new to me as well,
Right.
with the rest of the Black music industry. So, yeah, I think the West Coast diversity, it's there. It's always been there. There's great music, great
Yeah.
professionals here, great producers, like tons
Yeah.
of people behind the scenes, creators, photographers, designers. We're all here. We just need to get connected.
Yeah, and I honestly have been building a list, so don't worry. I'm like in the middle of like finding people that are owning some of these music businesses out here that I'm sure a lot of other even people in advance have never heard of. And I'm like, here, I'm gonna share these names because like I'm just starting to learn. And I've only been able to learn within this last 6 months with the company I'm in. And it's just because of the position I'm in. I want more people to know about this stuff. And I want you to know because as you said, like you've never seen anyone else. So like I'm like, I want Kessie to know about these people. I want Advance to know about these people. But yeah, like it's honestly been an honor to be part of Advance and like meet other people that look like us all across Canada. So I feel pretty honored.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
is there somebody that you used to be like affiliated with in the past or something that has made a big impact on you in this industry?
Hmm. Like an industry person?
Yeah, like is there a project or a person that you're not affiliated with now, but they made a big impact on you?
That I'm not affiliated with now. Um, I'm sure there, I mean, yeah, I'm sure there are a lot of creators and artists that have made a big impact on me. One is local, Tanya, who we used to work with at 604. She made a big impact on me. Just she was the first Black artist that I personally worked with at our company. We've had other Black artists that are on our label, but she's the first one on my specific roster.
Yeah.
And she really opened up the world for me of like trying to figure out who is going to support her in this in the Canadian industry, like who is going to support her style of music, and how do we get connected with them, and just her voice is just incredible and so powerful. And I think she has always sort of lingered in my mind as someone really impactful and strong, and smart and creative, and yes, love to Tanya. Yeah, there's been a few people, mostly women, which I'm really proud of.
Amazing.
Um, there's the woman I mentioned a little earlier who's worked at our company longer than I have. Her name's Julie Baldwin. She's a
Mhm.
French Canadian woman who lives on the East Coast, and
Mm.
she's still with our company as well. She is a senior project manager who manages Mariana's Trench, and she has always sort of done things first. She had kids before me, and she's she had Mariana's Trench, so they were a successful act
Yeah.
before I had Carly. And so I've always kind of followed in her footsteps. Like she really showed me how to kind of navigate business and personal, and the whole system. And I have always kind of looked up to her.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're still affiliated, so I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it's okay. That's amazing. You got to give all these women their flowers. It's okay. Including yourself. What is something you wish people knew more about you? Like everyone knows like yes, 604 and general manager and HR. What is something that you wish people knew more about Kessie?
I think people are just learning about me now. I've been here for like 17 years over here doing my thing, but thanks to like all this sort of movement of like Black industry people and Black people in general, getting the acknowledgement and recognition that they have been working for, and we have been working for so long,
Yeah.
has impacted me too. I think there are tons of people, especially on the East Coast, who
Yeah.
maybe know of my work but didn't know of me,
Yeah.
are now like, oh, where have you been? Like, who are you? And I'm like, well, I've been here this whole time, like doing everything. So I think people are still learning about me now. I don't know that there's anything specific that they need to know other than, I've worked really hard to get where I am. This did not happen overnight, and it did not, I wasn't able to do this completely by myself. I had, a great support system, a great employer to help me get here. But that it took a lot of hard work and a lot of challenge. And like, there were definitely times where I felt demotivated and like, this wasn't the industry for me. I don't think it was all sunshine and roses, like people might assume. Um, it's a hard road, I think, for everybody.
Yeah.
Um, so, I think just acknowledging the amount of work that it takes to get here and to stay here and to stay relevant and stay on top of the ball and stay passionate and keep facing the challenges that, we're all facing. Yeah.
Yeah, and be okay to learn. Like you went back to school because you want to further your education and understand the industry more and stuff like that. And I think people need to be okay with like, hey, by the way, things change every 10 years. Like let's pick up on it and understand it so we can have this part of our company and not be like sheltered about it, right? So
Yeah, it really does change every 10 years at max.
yeah.
It's even closer now that things move so quickly. And then also I really just want to shine a light also on doing this as a mom. Like I've brought that up a couple times here, but it's huge and important. And
Yeah.
I think women need to know that when they come into the industry. Young women need to know that they can totally have both. And
Mhm.
it's a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
And I think you need to have the right, place of employment and or create your own place of employment, but you can do it. And you can have both. You can create balance, and you can still be passionate and work your butt off.
Love that. Do you feel like you've changed personally during this whole Black Lives Matter movement, like from last year, from the whole George Floyd incident and stuff like that? Do you feel like you've changed as a Black person?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how you couldn't. It's been really eye-opening just personally. Like I've even become, I mean, when you're Black, you grow up having these experiences that we all are well versed in, and when things don't feel right or
Mhm.
where you're maybe feeling disadvantaged. I've been aware of that my whole life, but it's definitely like hearing. I feel like I've heard more people's experiences now, and it's sort of opened my eyes to things that I didn't even realize were making me uncomfortable before, and now I'm like, oh,
100%.
there's more to it, or other people experience this too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's been a bit, eye opening. Also, I feel more empowered now. I
Yeah.
feel um, less. I don't know. I feel less of an outsider, less of an islander.
Yeah.
I feel more part of a community. I'm
Yeah.
so thankful for Advance. I'm so thankful for these conversations that I get to have
Mhm.
with my friends, my family, my coworkers,
Mhm.
like our clients. That I've had conversations all around, and
Yeah.
it's made me feel just a better part of the greater community, and
Yeah.
like more opportunities.
Yeah.
I think I have a bigger voice in the industry.
Yeah.
Um, I sit on the SEMA board now, on the board of
Nice.
directors there,
Yeah.
and I think that has really been effective to feel
Mhm.
like I have a bigger voice in the industry, and like I know what's going on across Canada and all the various things that we're advocating for. So that's been hugely effective. And
Mhm.
yeah. And also how I'm going to speak with my kids about being a Black person and
Mhm.
being in their new world, because it's going to be
Yeah.
very different for them.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like I'm more confident in my skin.
Mhm.
Like, like you said, you have these conversations with friends and family and coworkers and stuff. It feels like I finally am like not afraid to be like, this is how I feel, this is how it
Yeah.
is. Like, like, no, that's wrong. And like I'm finally understanding like microaggressions. Like I gotta watch this video of like a mosquito biting somebody every single time. They're like, oh, can I touch your hair? But where are you from? And like you get buzzed every time. And I was like, that was my entire life being from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. I
Yes.
like didn't realize like I can make a brand out of microaggressions, it feels like. But it just feels like my whole life has been like that. And like now finally I'm like very strong with my skin. Like I'm
I
like,
100% agree on the microaggressions. I don't think I really knew that term before 2020.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, it's definitely put a name to something that was consistently making me uncomfortable before.
100%.
So yeah, it's just nice I think that part is a little empowering to know, like, okay, now I know what that is, and you
Mhm,
know what that is.
mhm.
So like, we can put an end to it, or at least we can attempt to. And having those conversations, it's sort of like addressing the elephant in the room. Like, now you know what's uncomfortable for me, and you should know better how to do your own research to figure out your own biases and way
Yeah.
of looking at it, and that's helped to have more open conversations.
Yeah, exactly. And again, both of us working in a healthy company and stuff like that, you just feel safer like talking about it and being able to be like, hey, by the way, like, let's not forget this. And they're like, absolutely. Like, instead of it being like, maybe you're like, no, like, we're not going to forget about this anymore. Like,
Yeah,
it's one of those things. So I feel like we're both in that position where we're able to be ourselves more.
yeah.
And
I
that's what I feel like what changed is the most is like, I finally get to be myself, like, fully.
Yes, as you should, because you're
Yeah.
a person. And the fact is, like, for years, like, all of these companies, they've been profiting off of us, and so to have, their understanding is everything. I mean, I don't have the same experience as some other colleagues I know of in the music
Mhm.
industry who really struggled with
Yeah.
um, having a voice in their companies and having respect at
Mhm.
like the basic level. And I have heard those stories for many years, especially
Mhm.
in the last year.
Yeah.
Um, I do feel like I had respect within my workplace before this. So I'm, again, like, I don't think I could have been here that long if I didn't. So I'm
Mhm.
thankful for that. But I definitely have experienced those things outside and in at other tables, and or at the tables I wasn't even invited to.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, very.
Yeah. So what kind of changes would you like to see happen? Like what is advice that you could possibly give to companies and people and like what you would like to see happen in general?
Yeah, that kind of goes back to what you were saying or what we were saying earlier
Yeah.
about the changes. So now it's about supporting those moves that we've all made.
Yeah. For sure.
Um, I think sort of similar to the pandemic, like there's a point where there there may be like a resistance point where companies might start to feel tired. Like, okay, we did our job, we hired, diverse people, we checked all the boxes, let's go back. Like, let's just everybody get to work. But there's a lot of work that needs to continue. So it's giving those people positions of power, raises, um, giving them training, development, making sure they're on track for what they want to be doing and what you need them to be doing, continuing to hire, just, continuing the process of keeping those people employed and happy, supported, mental health resources, and staff sort of community so that everybody knows how to communicate with each other, and just supporting the growth all around. I just think it can't stop with just hiring someone, because I know that in the past there have been companies who had a large Black presence or had a diverse range, and then they didn't see the money in that,
Right.
and those positions disappeared over time.
Yeah.
So I really want to make sure that that doesn't happen, and that these positions are permanent and
Mhm.
growing and successful.
Yeah. And like, is there something you want to share to people that look like us? Like, how do you even get started or just something small that they could take from your experience? Yeah. Like any advice?
Yeah, reach out, find people like us that look like you, and build your network. Reach out to Advance, follow Advance, because there are job postings of people who are looking for diverse, employees. I really just suggest growing your network. That's been a huge part of the last year, is like connecting with other people in these positions, and trying to get your foot in. It's always been a little difficult to get your foot in the door, anyways, to get into the music industry and figure out how to do that,
Hmm.
and get into the right company.
Yeah.
Has always been challenging, but there's sort of an extra barrier for people who look like us. So, um, you know, reach out to someone else who looks like you, I'd say, or to Advance, and go from there.
Yeah, and even if it's like you're from British Columbia, it's like reach out to your Music BC, reach out to your Ontario Music. Like, there is little opportunities, but like somebody like me works at Music BC, and I'm just happy to always have those conversations with people. But like, yes, talk to people from Advance, like, make sure to follow them, make sure these conversations happen all the time, right? So,
Yeah, yeah, you raise a great point. There are local music industry associations in every province, and they are definitely the people to reach out to. So like Music BC and others, and then there's the funding operations like Factor,
Yeah.
SEMA, like they're all there and looking to help connect
Hmm.
people who are wanting to get in and who maybe have a higher barrier to getting in.
Yeah.
And that's like, I think, a huge part of everyone's mandate right now is to
Yeah.
be aware that there's these challenges existing and to help. So just reach out.
Yeah. I was gonna ask you, what does success mean to you? Because um, I feel like you are very successful. You like I don't know how you feel about it, but you have been in this industry again for so long, and you said a lot of people didn't know about you, and they're knowing about you now. But you've had success with artists. You've had success within the company. Like you're the general manager, like you're HR of a very big company. So again, like I want to give you your flowers, but what does success mean to you?
Stop. First of all, like, I'm blushing.
Good.
Thank you. Success. I don't know. It's an elusive term to me because
Mhm.
I think when I get a little taste of it, I'm like, okay, well, what's next? Like
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
this whole industry, like it's such a roller coaster. So
Yeah.
every time we have a huge win, we usually also have a loss or, a challenge or something that's not working out. It's just like
Right.
it's so random. And
Right.
so when we are experiencing a win or a success, I'm still thinking about what's next and how do we protect
Mhm.
this or how do we keep it going or how do we grow it? Like
How you top it off.
there-
Yeah.
yeah, there's no ceiling on it. I don't feel like I'm going to reach a point where I'm like, oh, I'm successful now. Like I'm
Yeah.
done, I'll just back out now. I think I'm always going to want to figure out how to do the next best thing. And that's just
Yeah.
also for the industry. Like it just changes so much. The barrier for success is different now than it was 10 years ago.
Yeah. Of
Um,
course.
yeah, and like the expectation of what successful means is so it's so wide now. You can
Yeah.
be successful on TikTok. You can be successful with Spotify streams. You can
Yeah.
be successful with concert, ticket sales. You can be successful just in terms of making great music. So
Yeah.
I think it's very different for everybody. For me, when I can go home feeling fulfilled,
Mhm.
happy, and I'm proud of the work I'm doing, whether or
Mhm.
not that work is, being received well,
Yeah.
then I feel successful.
I totally agree. I think we're the same. I've always wanted to be in the music industry. I always said I wanted to be a singer, but now it's like I want to be an artist and work in the industry because I always want to be a community person. My African parents think like success equals money. Like, no offense to them, but like that's how they look at it. You either got to
Mhm.
be a doctor, engineer, nurse type of life. But like for me, it's like, no, I'm working in the industry. Like that's success. The fact I
Yeah.
can get other people that look like me on a stage, that's success for me. Like playing a show in front of who cares how many people, like that's success, right? Like again, it's very different. Some people need to like blow up and be at the Grammys where I'm like, if I could just like run the party that happens after, I'm happy. Like
I'm getting paid. Like I'm happy. Like I am paying my bills.
working in the
I'm
music
paying my
industry.
bills based on the work I'm doing in this industry. So
Right.
that's great.
Yeah,
I've been able to do that for many years, and I'm really
exactly.
proud of that. And you are killing it. I had heard your name for quite a while before we were introduced. So you definitely, had made an impression in my mind, and as a musician and in the industry.
Yeah,
Um,
it's been amazing, honestly.
so,
Like again, I don't have those same stories that some black people do in the industry where they've gone through a lot of stuff, right? Where like for me, I'm like, I was lucky that I only started 5 years ago. Like I'm still young. Like I'm in my last year of my 20s. And like things like that. So I feel like I'm just getting started and every single time something different's happening. Like if I didn't meet you, I wouldn't be part of Advance. Like things like that. And that type of stuff is success to me. Like coming home and being happy, like having an interview today, like that is that's what I want to be doing. Like
huge. And you have a lot to do.
I love it.
So, I don't know if I'll ever retire. This is like, it just doesn't really feel like work to me on an
Mhm,
everyday level. There's definitely days where I'm like, this is challenging and,
mhm.
um, I just have to get to tomorrow.
Yeah,
Um, but I am working in an industry that I love and I'm supported and
yeah,
I work with musicians that I love.
yeah,
And
that's amazing.
that's like incredible. Like I think my kids, they must think that I just am like playing all day. They don't I don't know what they think I do. They come home and listen to music that I'm listening to, and we have dance parties, and like,
I love
you
that.
know, it's super awesome. So I'm really thankful. But yeah, I'm hoping to see more growth and see people like you
Yeah.
on my, you know, in my meetings and
Yeah.
on our boards and committees all the time.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you just one last question. What are your goals for the next 5 years? I know you said you don't want to retire, so that's that's going to be a long road. But what are some goals that Kessie has for the next 5 years?
Honestly, this is the worst year to ask me because I don't know. Like I'm just trying to get through this year without I'd like to know if like the world is still around in 5 years. At this point, I'm just trying to get through.
Yeah.
Um, I am really rethinking what my goals are, but I think that the at least what our business in particular is doing is going to go through quite a large change over the next 5 years. Just the way that music is going, the way
Hmm.
people receive it,
Hmm.
how they purchase it and or like stream it, and what the live experience will be when we get back to all of that. Like I just don't know what to expect or what that looks like, and that's kind of exciting because I feel like we can create that, like how that structure is going to be.
Hmm.
I guess I'll make new goals when I have a better footing after this
Yeah.
year. But I am, yeah, I've recently sort of upped my education in human resources, and I
Hmm.
know that making other people feel good in their jobs is hugely important to me
Right.
personally. So I expect that I'm going to continue down that path of just helping the structure of people feeling good about being employed and keeping employers feeling, like they have a valuable team.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so that's kind of my mindset right now.
Yeah, that's amazing. I just want to say thank you for always being so positive. It's always so nice to have a conversation with you.
Me too, Kantia. Thank you so much for this awesome conversation and just for being a great connection. Like we've had a couple of good conversations now, and I hope we have more.
Oh, I think we will. Don't worry. As I said, I'm building the list of the British Columbia like Black professionals myself, and I'll be sharing it with everyone. But it's just been nice to know that there are some people that are running like the big festivals at the PNE, people that are running big artists and have a really big label happening. And I'm like, where have you been?
Yeah, right? Yeah, it's really great. So I really
Well,
appreciate the time.
yeah, of course. So I just want to say thank you again. This is Kessie that I've been talking to, and I'm Kentia, and it's been a lovely, lovely time having this conversation with you.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah, and thank you to Advanced Music, by the way, for letting us have this conversation.
Yes, thank you, Advance. Thank you, Click, for having me.
Mwah, 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 mwah. Bye.